Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll present to you, I would say this is the final Let's Play in 2019. And because of this though, today we're about to be doing a Let's Play of a returning format of the forms of the Sonic the Hedgehog games at long last. So, yeah, to kick things off with this though, we're about to be playing through Sonic Pocket Adventure from the actual handheld device that has been up for about, ever since joining in 1999, I believe, which is about 20 years ago, which is SNK Neo Geo Pocket Color. And, from that particular perspective, with the forms of the Neo Geo Pocket Color, as far as I'm aware, I already mentioned about this before, it's usually been made by SNK, of course, and, yeah, this is a very interesting game as far as I'm aware, and it's also the interesting choice to able to actually place the Sonic game into a different gaming console. Like, this is before when Nintendo managed to finally get themselves some Sonic games on the Nintendo console. Now, I think this might actually be the only Sonic game that has only been released on SNK consoles, because after this, well, I just don't think that the SNK console department will be able to be continuing. So either way though, let's just get into the forms of the game itself of Sonic Pocket Adventure. Obviously, if you couldn't tell with the actual sprites and all this 2D action that's been going on, it plays almost exactly similar to the forms of the Mega Drive games. Well, except the noticeable difference is that obviously this is on the SNK Neo Geo Pocket Color, of course. And also because we got ourselves some sort of 8-bit look to it. And also, if you couldn't tell already, is the fact that, well, the sound quality was actually an also 8-bit rendition here and there as well. So, either way though, that it plays exactly like how it does it in the actual other Mega Drive Sonic games, ranging from Sonic 1, 2, and especially noticeable in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Although the biggest differences from here, well, we'll point things out whenever we get to it. So, as you can see on screen right here, we are playing through these special stages, which in order to actually get to them, is by collecting 50 rings, and then you have to simply just reach it at the very end of the stage. You know, just like how it does it in Sonic 1, Sonic the Hedgehog CD, and especially noticeable before Sonic Lost World on the 3DS, as well as the forms of Sonic the Hedgehog for episodes 1 and 2. Well, except the fact that the physics in this game is super darn good, especially is way more up there than the forms of how it does it in Sonic the Hedgehog for episodes 1 and 2. Because that was before when Mania managed to able to brought back some of the classical elements to the mix. But even though we haven't got into the actual encore playthrough of it yet though. But either way though, we'll probably get into that though at some point in 2020, but it needs a little bit more time left before whenever we get to that though. But either way though, yeah. So yeah, with the special stages department in this game though, that if you can tell, this is the half-pipe sequence again, which, from the actual perspective when it comes to Sonic Pocket Adventure, this game borrows the exact same elements from Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Like, for instance, the special stages I mentioned before, usually it's based on around half-pipes and all that such. And yeah, eventually the beginning special stage gets pretty easy, but eventually it gets some bombs and whatnot. But honestly, I don't find any of these special stages to be all this troublesome at all, or anything like that. The only ones that most people seem to have having trouble with is the final special stage in the game. And once again, that you're gonna be collecting these Chaos Emeralds. There are 6 collectible emeralds, and there's the 7th one, which will happen later on. So either way though, we'll point things out until at some point at the very end of 2019, because today's day is the forms of the 29th of December, so this means we've only got about, I would say, 3 days left until 2020 is getting close. So that's the perfect example about the fact that some people might surprise me for able to actually just, see this game in action, because nobody seemed to able to actually talk about this game all that much. Well, the only recording method, as you can see right there, I'm actually going to be playing this on the emulator, so because of this though, not the actual emulator or anything like that, I'm actually going to be using my computer capture card, so that way you can able to see the much more better quality or anything like that. So either way though, well, apart from the janky frame rate aside, I think it should be pretty pleasurable surprise, so even then I will get to that point. And also, this reminds me of Sonic CD, by the way. Yeah, because for that particular overhauled sprites of Sonic, whenever he just managed to go up in that little particular ramp in Plum Tree Panic Zone, about the fact that you come across into those segments like this. So, anywho. So if you can tell, the first zone in this game was actually none other than New South Island, which is actually inspires Emerald Hill Zone from Sonic 2, but except the fact that, well, obviously it's more likely a combination of between Emerald Hill and especially noticeable with Green Hill Zone at the same time. So, but yeah, you probably get the idea. Much like in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, as well as the forms of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, and as well as the forms of, well, to be more specifically, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and before Sonic Advance, every once in a while, though, in each and every single zone, actually contains two different acts. Like, Act 1 is just this very simple platforming level, and in Act 2, at the very end of the in each Act 2 level, we all ended up in a boss fight. So even then, for Dr. Eggman right there, on boss fight number 1, is that he managed to able to use this little mini hammer, which, unlike in any other boss fights in the entirety of the Sonic games, after when you just try to able to damage Dr. Eggman, after when it starts to go a little bit more invulnerable, whenever it starts flashing, if you jump on him whenever he starts flashing, you're able to actually get hit. So, a little bit different from the likes of how it does it in the actual Mega Drive 16-bit Sonic games to begin with, but either way though, they're just there for the sake of the limitations or something. So either way though, and as you can see right here, we're actually going on to Secret Plant Zone, which is not Chemical Plant by the way, because although, then again, it borrows the exact same theme environments from the likes of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, even though thankfully though, it doesn't rehash most of the time, unlike in Sonic the Hedgehog 4, the entire duology of episodes, because, well, I just really hate the fact that so many zones in Sonic the Hedgehog 4 duology episodes just keep on heavily rehashing so many elements from Sonic 1 and especially with Sonic 2. I mean, that was supposed to be a sequel or something, but either way though, we'll not gonna get into ourselves on that part. So either way though, I will say though is that this game really loves the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 soundtrack, by the way, because I can assure to you that one of those music that is heavily borrowed from, well, specifically Secret Plant Zone Act 1, that I think that music was actually based off from Angel Island Zone Act 2 music or something, and then in New South Island Act 2 music was actually borrowed from you know, from the likes of Angel Island Zone Act 1's music from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And the very first stage in that particular game of New South Island Act 1, I think that heavily borrows the exact same soundtrack or the exact same music as the forms of the actual Sonic World music from Sonic Jam, if you couldn't tell from the actual tone of it. So even then, I was want to point things out right away, for those of the Sonic fans who are able to know about this at this point. So either way though, chances are I really do think that this game managed to able to get the fantastic results, because I've seen some plentiful reviews of this game, and they say that this is actually the most uniquest Sonic games they've ever consist of, especially this is on the non-Sega consoles, well, it's not on the Dreamcast, that's for sure. Even though this game takes place, this game came out in 1999, which is about 20 years old right now, and I think this game came out after Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast, and before Sonic Shuffle for the Sega Dreamcast. So either way though, it's somewhere a little bit more in between each other, but even then though, it's a little bit more coincidence, I have to say, for this matter though. But anywho though, although convenient enough at this point guys, is the fact that the only playable character in this game, you do realize from the start, is the fact that you only play as Sonic all by himself, because well, if you keep on thinking of the forms of the classic games, specifically for Sonic the Hedgehog 2 or Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, you obviously know about the fact that you weren't able to actually play as 3 different multiple playable characters, which there are Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, but sadly you can't able to play as those two. The only time you can able to play as Tails in this game is the fact that there's actually a multiplayer in this game. By doing so is the fact that much like the Game Boy, as well as the Game Boy Color, and before the Game Boy Advance of all things, is that you need to use the Link cable in order to actually just to play multiplayer. But, you know, I'm probably not going to show that off because I simply just don't access to one of them. And you notice I got myself to continue for that special stage, by the way. If you come across into that particular flashy flower, if you manage to obtain one, then it'll able to give you a continue. So even though this game does have a save system, so it's a little bit more redundancy to able to actually just add in continues in this game, which can be same applies on Sonic Advance 1, which we'll get to that at some point next year. Mind you, because we've only got about 3 more days to go until, well, the new year starts, which is, you know, in 2020. So, either way though, that's to be expected at this point. I'll get to my final thoughts of it at some form or another, and during at some point at the very end of, specifically at the New Year's Eve and stuff like that, before I talk about, some other things worth mentioning, especially noticeable where, I'll give my final thoughts of 2019 before 2020 starts. But either way though, there's not much else to tell. But anywho though, so now we're on to Act 2, which I think that music was actually a reference to the forms of Hydro City Zone from the likes of Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Which, either way though, to be expected, they always seem to able to love the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 soundtrack for some reason, but they just managed to put it in the 8-bit rendition of that music, which I don't mind it at all, because although I kind of prefer the 60-bit rendition, because that was part of my nostalgia memory, although it's probably just for my, circumstances anyway though, but it still looks very good though nonetheless. So, anyways, with that, all that things considered, is that the physics in this game is super good, as I said before. For instance, for example, that this is how Sonic 4 should be done, especially noticeable when we get to Sonic Advance 1, that we'll able to talk more on that later. That if you go into a ball, if you manage to run faster with the curl into a ball, then you're able to actually get a little bit more momentum right there. And especially noticeable how the fact that, well, yeah, you know, you don't able to actually get a little bit more. Well, it might take a while to get used to with the actual floaty physics and all that such, but either way though, if you get the hang of it though, you should do it pretty okay as it is. So either way though, we'll might as well able to leave it up to that. So. And yeah, about with the forms of the Neo Geo Pocket Color is that if you've been following through our Christmas unboxing video ever since during likes have been 3 days ago, or in this case, for this specific matter, I would say, yeah, it should be about 4 days ago at this point, about the fact that that particular handheld console was actually the first ever handheld console, generally speaking, when it comes to likely have ourselves a joystick, which either way though, it might sound really darn clicky if you're ever trying to able to get your hands on it all by yourself. But as far as the emulator, as far as I'm using right now, when it comes to recording things, this means about the fact that you won't be hearing a lot of clicking, because either way though, that's the only method I'm going to be doing some recording sessions or what have you, so you probably get the idea. Although, apart from the actual lacking frame rates going on right there, but I kind of wish I just want to make the actual frame rate a lot smoother, but unfortunately it's that sometimes my computer just doesn't seem to like smoother frame rates sometimes. But anywho though, so let's move on to the third zone in Sonic Pocket Adventure. We have Cosmic Casino, which is not Casino Night Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Although the biggest difference is here is that, well, you notice in Casino Night Zone from Sonic 2, there were some enemies involved, but in this particular variation of Casino Stage, as far as in this game in general, I don't think there aren't any enemies around here. The only time you need to avoid is those spikes in general, which either way though, sometimes you need to able to dodge them and all the other stuff. So yeah, you probably get the idea about that solution right here. So yeah, you got all these familiar classic elements to the mix. If you're familiar with the old school, the Mega Drive games all over again, is that, well, obviously with these ring monitors you can clearly see on screen, although you're probably not going to see them right now. And by the way, you notice with that checkpoints right there, these will no longer accessible when it comes to bonus games and all that stuff, unlike in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. So, as well as before Sonic Mania, they did manage to offer us some of these extra bonus stuff you weren't able to actually just to consider getting. So, but anywho though, the only thing is worth noting for is that the elemental shields, like specifically the flame shield, electric shield, and the bubble shield, is nowhere to be seen in this game. The only shield that only makes an appearance in this game was actually the normal shield itself, which I don't mind it at all, because probably because of the limitations of the handheld device or anything like that, but that's probably just me anyway though, that's probably just me. So now we're on to the third special stage right here, and of course, like in every single Sonic games, is that, well, in terms of the Let's Play department, I'm actually going to be going after every single Chaos Emeralds in this game, including the 7th and the final one, which, I'm sure enough though is that we're able to actually just meet up with the forms of the 7th and the final Chaos Emerald at some point later on in the plot. Which, either way though, there's not much else I can really talk about the plot in this game, apart from the fact that it's just the usual, classic Sonic story, as you all know and love, that basically Animals is being captured by the forms of, Dr. Eggman's robots and all that such, which, by the way, you notice for that particular sprite right there, specifically in Sonic Pocket Adventure so far, I think, relatively speaking, is the fact that ever since in Sonic Adventure 1 on the Sega Dreamcast, they did manage to able to give us a nice little, newly looked details in between Sonic and the gang, is that Sonic managed to got himself his green eyes in the 3D Sonic game, which is of course Sonic Adventure. Now I think this might actually be the first ever, 2D Sonic game to able to feature Sonic's green eyes in this particular 2D Sonic, whereas later on though, it will heavily borrow that in the forms of in the actual mediocre Sonic the Hedgehog 4 episodes 1 and 2. Well, I honestly prefer episode 2 a bit more than episode 1 because, well, they just managed to able to get the physics a bit off in specific episode 1. Whilst the forms of episode 2 did manage to fix that tradition, but nowhere near as perfect as the forms of the classic days, especially compared to the forms of Sonic Mania especially as well. But either way though, you probably get the idea for that, so yeah, let's just get into the special stages quickly. It's the fact that the whole entire objective in this special stages is very similar to the forms of Sonic 2. That basically you have to collect as many rings as you can. You know, just like how it did in Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Except the fact that you just all by yourself as Sonic this time, as opposed to your partner companion Tails is nowhere to be seen apart from you can able to play as him. In, of course, I mentioned earlier, the multiplayer department, but either way though. 3 Chaos Emeralds down, and only about 3 more collective Chaos Emeralds to go. And, 4 if you really want to count for later on, though, for the 7th and the final Chaos Emerald. But, you know, you get the idea. So, in order to actually get to the special stages, though, as I said before, I think, is the fact that you only get them on Act 1. And, as for Act 2, you can't get them, because even then, though, just like the ones and how it does it in, Act 3 in Sonic 1, that's how the fact that you couldn't able to actually get special stages after when you deal with the boss. So either way though. The only noticeable differences this time around though when it comes to attempt to getting the Chaos Emeralds in this game compared to Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as well as Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, and even Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and Sonic CD as well, very similar to the forms of Sonic Blast for the Sega Game Gear. I think you might actually go ahead and deal with these special stages in a specific amount of attempts. Like, in Sonic Blast, specifically if you want to get to Act 2 on that specific matter in Sonic Blast, is that you only have like exactly 5 attempts to able to get all 5 Chaos Emeralds to able to see the best ending, slash the forms of the actual extra boss fight at the end. But that's very much exactly the same thing for this, except the fact that this time you only have like exactly 6 attempts, because if you mess up one time, then too bad for you, the good ending is about to be getting yourselves a goodbye. Well, unless if there's an option you can able to replay the levels again, just to able to try that again, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't really tested it out for myself, so even then I will find things out whenever I play on my own time on my new Dual Pocket Color, so even then that's as far as I can see. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention about the forms of the boss fights from the likes of Sonic Pocket Adventure so far, is that in Secret Plan Zone we actually come across into those seesaw tilted platforms, and then in here we can now able to come across into Dr. Eggman, where he has like some sort of a bumper contraption, which you can only damage him on each side between left or right, or just simply jump on top of him. So I think that's as far as it will go, but if you're trying to able to jump from underneath him, well, you're probably gonna get hit. So, yeah, not recommend you do that. So, that pretty much takes care of the forms of Cosmic Casino. So, we'll go ahead and end things up here. So, join me next time on Let's Play Sonic Pocket Adventure. Is that we are moving on to the 4th zone in the game, which is Aquatic Relics, which appears to be not Aquatic Ruin, but you know. See you guys then. Later, fellas.